Good afternoon again, XJW tubers. Gene here, Truth Survives 411, and coming to you wanting to talk about another topic that has been in the back of my head rolling around for several months, if not probably a year or so. But this matter of JWs and education, and why I would say there is hypocrisy in the idea that Jehovah's Witnesses value education. Perhaps some of you that are XJWs remember assemblies or meeting parts or Watchtower articles that talked about, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses value education. We just value the highest education. So they would kind of if you will, disrespect higher education, as in college education or some schooling post high school or whatever, in the idea that, well, it's really about the highest education. That's what matters more than anything else. Divine education from God. And this text, this volume, New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures, is all the education that you really need. Well, of course, we've seen softening of that stance over the course of the years. I'm sure we remember in maybe the early mid-90s, they kind of talked about that education post high school would be beneficial. But of course, what's the objective? What's the goal? Well, it shouldn't be to become somebody and separate yourself from others or elevate yourself. It should be with the idea of getting work that's going to allow you to focus on serving Jehovah in the kingdom full time. I call BS on that, because the bottom line is, when it comes to education, Jehovah's Witnesses, the structure, the organization, not necessarily every individual, but the structure and the organization, they essentially want it both ways. They want to benefit from what comes about from people that are educated in terms of technology and these lawyers that they hire to defend themselves. But when it boils down to it, the rank and file, they're not as interested in an educated flock, secularly educated. Why is that the case? Well, think about it. We've been saying for the longest time, a person that's educated and has been to an institution of higher learning, or have just pursued improving themselves in their way of thinking, what is likely going to be at risk or threatened if you are a JW? See, your confidence and your belief in what you've been fed perhaps all of or most of your life. That's the issue. So when it comes to education, in my view, Jehovah's Witnesses as an organization are hypocritical. Yeah, they say in certain contexts, when it suits them, that yes, a brother or sister can go to college and get a degree, but of course, what should be the objective? Serving the kingdom in full time and all this kind of thing. Not elevating yourself above others. But if a person goes and gets additional education with the idea of improving themselves, and that leads to them questioning the organization, well, now your mind has been corrupted. You know, now you're a hypocrite. Now you're a person that's turned yourself over to Satan. See, that's a situation that really irks me, because I'm sure many of us know there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even more Jehovah's Witnesses that did not pursue post-high school education, because at a definitive period in time, say mid-80s, maybe even up to 90 and backwards, there is no honest person that can say Jehovah's Witnesses as an organization supported the idea of going to college and getting a degree and pursuing a career of some kind in this particular world that we live in today. And how many of our brothers or sisters, if you will, now can barely get a decent job, or don't have the requisite skills to adapt to the changing technology and society that we live in, and they struggle out here on their backs, physically speaking, when it comes to making a living and feeding their families. That is the height of hypocrisy when it comes to this organization. And frankly, what have we seen happen? They've bobbed and weaved as time have went on to suit them. But no matter what pivoting or positioning that they do, they still land at whatever any education you get, it has to suit and benefit the organization, because without that, then it doesn't have God's blessing, quote unquote, and you're not going to be successful long term. What a terrible thing to indoctrinate and force people to believe. So again, I ask you, thinking JWs, ex-JWs, questioning JWs, potential JWs, people that, entertain them at your house if they come visit. Ask yourself, is that really an organization that's God ordained, that does not really value education, that puts them in a position where they can question even their religious leaders or their religious beliefs beyond just the propaganda that's circulated to them in the form of magazines, videos, conventions, assemblies, and books? This is something that we really need to ask ourselves, because we have children in our midst that we're perhaps trying to raise, or that we have raised. And do we want them to swallow this idea that education outside of what Jehovah's Witnesses or Jehovah's organization, quote unquote, provides is not really necessary? A very dangerous approach and attitude. And when you see that out here today, and the real consequences of people that followed that thinking, it's by no means a joking matter. So something for individuals to really give thought to. And certainly just wanted to share my take on it. All right, guys.